What's going on, CrossFit Featherweight? It is Wednesday. I had to check. Cool. All right, it's Wednesday. We are doing a heavy day today. And today is all about the sumo deadlift and establishing a 1 rep max, and then some accessory work. And we'll talk about the standards on those. So let's walk over to our barbell and take a look. So when we're setting up for a sumo meaning a wide stance deadlift, so conventional being about hip width distance is what a lot of us are used to. Sumo being just a little bit different. And for me, I like to use the rings on the knurling of the bar. So I always set kind of my shin bones about where that first ring is. You do not have to worry about going. Some people have a really, really wide sumo stance. Some people have a moderately wide stance. But what you're looking for is you want your knees to be wide enough that as you take your hands down, I'm going to be grabbing the bar, fairly narrow grip, maybe about the distance of my thumbs extended between my hands here, maybe a little wider. It just depends on what you're comfortable with. So I want to make sure that as I'm in my setup position, that my knees are out of the way of my elbows. If I'm too close, if I'm a little, if this is my conventional, I'm a little wider than my conventional, and I come down here and I'm trying to get set up and my knees are all in the way of my elbows and I'm making contact with my arms, and then obviously I'm not wide enough for my sumo stance. So again, wide leg. I find that my feet are about 45-degree angle. I am not straight-footed when I'm doing sumo deadlift. So a little bit wider out is going to be good. We're going to give us the ability to really grip that floor with our toes. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to get set, and then from here, just stand all the way up. Make sure that my shoulders are behind the bar, just like I would for a conventional deadlift. Then I'm standing nice and tall, so I'm able to squeeze my glutes at the top of that movement. This is a heavy day. So with 1 rep max days, be mindful that even though normally in most circumstances in a workout, we could drop the bar from the top. If I drop that barbell from the top of my 1 rep, even if I worked really hard to stand up 500 pounds and I drop that bar, really awesome that you stood that up, but doesn't count as your 1 rep max. So we need to control that barbell right back down to the floor. And that's a really important thing. If we were lifting in a competition, and most federations do not allow you to drop that barbell from the top and still have that count. So even if you did all the work to stand it up, keep your hands on the barbell, take it back to the floor, and then once it's back on the floor, you can take your hands off and you're good to go. Big things with the sumo, if I can have you swing over here, because it's hard to see what I'm doing from the front, is you're naturally going to get a little more quad involved in the deadlift than you would from a conventional standpoint. So that conventional standpoint, as I'm getting set up for a conventional deadlift, it's all posterior chain. So hamstrings, glutes, and while those are the primary movers still in your sumo, a lot of lifters like the sumo deadlift, one, because if I can go really wide with my feet, it shortens that range of motion. So I should feasibly be able to move more weight with a smaller range of motion, but it also allows an athlete to be able to get their body a little more, their chest a little more upright. So I'm not as far hinged over as I would be for a conventional deadlift. So once I'm getting set, my chest is now a lot taller than that conventional setup position, right? So, and again, because of that change of torso position, I'm going to get a little more quad involved. And that, while initially, let's say I only conventional deadlift and I haven't done a lot of sumo, I'm probably going to find that I don't feel as comfortable with the sumo deadlift initially. And that's okay. But what I find is as athletes get more comfortable with the sumo, you might find that you sumo more than your conventional deadlift. Even if you're already really strong at conventional. And everyone's going to have their preferences, and I believe we should train both. So that's why we do heavy days both on conventional and sumo, and you will see both show up in workouts and things like that. So it should be a skill that we as athletes have to be able to pull pretty decent loads from both positions, even if I prefer one over the other. So this is not I can conventional more than I can sumo, so I'm going to conventional deadlift and max out my conventional. That's not what we're doing today. You're going to sumo and you're going to see where you get there. So, but again, that more quad taller chest here. Again, I can keep my shins nice and vertical, so I'm actively driving my knees out and then standing up with that barbell. So enough about the deadlift. And again, notice that I still controlled that bar all the way down. I didn't drop it from the top. Keep that in mind today. That's all we really need to talk about from the barbell perspective. When we look at our accessory work, let's go take another look at the whiteboard. And I'll just touch on these. I won't demo them, one, because the GHD is all the way in the back corner. It's surrounded by other things right now. But we have, when we're done, we've got 3 sets of 20 weighted sit-ups. Now, this weighted sit-up should not be the same weight. I want you to think about going up in weight after every successful set. So I might grab, you know, a 50-pound kettlebell and hold that on my chest and do some weighted sit-ups there. And when these are weighted, feet anchored. And wow, I can't. Cool. I'll just do that. Feet anchored, totally okay. Why? Because I'm adding a lot more load to my upper body, and trying to keep my feet on the ground while I'm doing sit-ups is very difficult. So grab some dumbbells, some 55-pound dumbbells or 50-pound dumbbells, something like that. Put your feet under those. Use that as your anchor as you're doing those weighted sit-ups. Why? Because we want to overload the core. We tax the core here and work on that midline stabilization in our deadlift is very core intensive. So we tax the core there. Let's tax it a little bit more when we're done. So 3 by 20 weighted sit-ups, go up in weight every time. They should be challenging. Shouldn't just be that you do 20 and you're like, okay, cool, on to the next. Make it hard. Make it hard. If you work hard at your accessory work, you're going to get a lot more out of it. And a lot of times we spend so much time here that we don't allow ourselves to get here. But this is just as important as this. So weighted sit-ups, add weight, feet anchored are okay. And then 3, and notice I put by 10 to 15. So it varies from athlete to athlete, but hip extensions on the GHD, and that is where you're facing down on the GHD and you're coming up to parallel. The reason why why I'm not really touching on this or demoing this is for this video for people doing stuff at home. Most of us don't have GHDs. So we'll be able to dive into that, how we do that and how we attack that while we're here at the gym. So that's what we're getting ourselves into for Wednesday. Should be a good day. It is a heavy day, I know, after Monday's short, hard time domain stuff with that mile run and Isabel, and then yesterday's workout with the floor press and overhead work and that muscle redundancy with our shoulders, and that one was a brutal workout. I'm excited to dive into something heavy, to not have to worry about so much of the high intensity stuff and just worry about the weight on the bar. It's gonna be a good time. Excited for it. I know you guys are too. So with that, let's get after it.